Hello, dear friend. Here we are. This is day 2 of Harvest of Light by Emmanuel through Chico Xavier. We are here in chapter 1, Charity of Understanding. And this is the book in Portuguese, Ceifa de Luz. A book that is coming about in English. Yes, and will be hopefully one day published. Meanwhile, we're here sharing this knowledge with you at Kardec Radio. It's very important to nourish our souls with studies, instruction. How can our minds see differently if we don't acquire the new? So that's why Chico Xavier so blessedly gave to us these more than 412 books. Chico Xavier had healing mediumship skills. Did you know? Yes, he healed the throat of Divaldo Franco. Yes, Chico Xavier was the instrument through which the spirit Sister Sheila operated upon the throat of Divaldo Franco when he was younger. And thanks to that and the mercy of God, Divaldo Franco is amongst us. I'm saying this to you because we often gravitate to the healing sessions. But this is the healing session. These books, the healing for our souls. Because when we acquire new knowledge, new instruction, new understanding, new light, we can see more clearly our lives. We change our disposition, and in changing it, we stimulate others around us as well. So it's a joy for us to be here together, in this classroom together, learning with the spirit teacher, Emmanuel. We're very thankful to them, to these orchestrated works of the beyond with the medium Chico Xavier. This book, as we said on the day 1 yesterday, was unique. Unique because part of it was stolen by somebody else, published. So Emmanuel had to write a third of it again and make it publishable. It took 7 years from the first compilation to actually the publication, from 1972 to the publication in 1979. Isn't that interesting? And you may be asking, Vanessa, why are you telling us this story? First of all, to give you time to join us. Second, also to let you know that the works of the good on earth are phenomenal, but they are not simple, as you know. When you ask people in our lives, in your life, why don't you do the good? Because it's not simple. It's supposed to be simple, but it's not. We still face many resistances in doing the good. Many. So it's very important for us to value these efforts of the good wherever they come, with whatever label they have. So it's very important when you do your good, you go home and say, thank you, God, that I was able to be useful and to co-create with you in the good. The more we give power to the good, the more we pay attention and value the good, the stronger, the more evident it will be. Right, friends? It's a joy to have you here. So I'm going to read. First, I'm going to read the message. And after reading the message, we're going to talk about this. And then we may be answering questions. We may be talking a little more 101. Charity of Understanding. This is chapter 1. Listen to this, friends. charity of understanding. Understanding is already a big deal. Knowing that one of its facets is charitable, then it's going to create in us the willingness to be more understanding, right? So Emmanuel begins this chapter by quoting from Paul in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, item 13. In sustaining spiritual progress, we need charity as much as we need air that assures us the organic balance. Remember that interdependence is the regime instituted by God for the stability of the whole universe. And do not forget the understanding that we owe to all creatures. Understanding that expresses itself through incessant tolerance and kindness, in the sound conviction that in helping others, we will be able to find the indispensable help for our own safety. In face of any complex problem in those around you, remember that it would not be fair to impose your points of view to guide them on the road that is their own. The Creator does not give copies, and each heart obeys a particular system of evolutionary impulses. Only love is the climate suited to the interweaving of all beings of creation, and only through love we will integrate ourselves in the sublime harmony of life. At every stage of the journey, maintain charity. Maintain the charity that identifies the presence of the Lord in the paths of others, respecting the configuration with which they present themselves. Do not forget that no one is ignorant because he desires it. Thus, by extending fraternal arms to those who breathe troubled in the shadows, you will reduce penury that will be finally extinguished in the world when each conscience adjusts themselves to the obligation to serve without sorrow and without demands, certain that only loving and aiding without complaining we will remain happy in the ascension to God. I know these are simply 3, 6, 7, 8 paragraphs, apparently simple, but at the same time so complex. Don't be deceived thinking that the English translation may be the reason why you don't understand. I tell you that even in Portuguese, it's hardcore information. So we need to study the book. That's why we are together. First, why he quoted from Paul, Corinthians 13:13. It's about charity. We all know that the gospel according to Spiritism tells us that without charity there is no salvation. And people don't like that word salvation, do they? Some people do, some people don't. Some people are bothered by the fact like, I don't need to be saved by anything. Well, hold your horses, my friend, because I tell you that we all have things in us that we would love to have a superhero saving us. We would love. And the salvation here is about our elevation. It's about our ridding ourselves of our difficulties. So, like Emmanuel said one day to Chico, Are you troubled? Are you fatigued? Do not rest. Work harder to help others. And I hear many people say, no, but when you're tired, when you are sick, and you go take some time off. And I say, you know, there's only one law in this universe. The law of the mental field. What is it, Vanessa? Well, André Luiz said that in one of his books, through Chico Xavier, a book that is yet to be in English, Mechanisms of Mediumship. In that book, we learn that we attract what we emit. So if I want to attract tranquility, what do I need to do? Sow tranquility. If I want peace, I need to sow peace. That's the reason why Emmanuel is telling us today that charity is the only way. But what is charity? Well, that was the question that Allan Kardec asked the good spirits, and it's published in the Spirit's book. And for us, we're quoting these books not in a movement of blind faith, not at all, but in a true movement of reasoning this faith, because it makes sense. The spirits replied to Kardec saying, charity means be benevolent towards everyone. That's what we're learning in this message tonight. How can we find peace and tranquility in a world if we treat people differently? If you look, I look at you, and because you are the President of the United States, I treat you better, I have a problem. I should treat you and the person who picks up the trash at my house the same way. For many people, this statement is nonsense. But for God, it's the law of equality. I should give my best will, not only my good will, or my best will, towards all. Whether people have X, Y, Z roles doesn't matter. Whether they are part of my blood ties or not, it doesn't matter. How am I going to create this safe world if people are not feeling that they are cared for? Isn't that right when you go to the streets? Often we're moved by fear. What if people don't accept me? They reject me? What if they don't like me? So we're constantly, in our daily lives, afraid of expressing ourselves and not being accepted, afraid of doing what we need to do and not be approved of. Why? Because we lack the charity of understanding. Society as a whole. But how are we going to change this game? By applying ourselves to this lesson. The day we apply this charity of understanding, we're going to understand, says Emmanuel, and be giving people our best will, the goodwill, the best of us. And we're also going to, we may be given a day when we are angry, we don't accept, but deep inside we say, you know, if that person is taking that route, certainly they are suffering. They have an issue. I don't know the pressures, and I forgive. That doesn't mean you're going to be living with an abuser. That doesn't mean that we're going to be working in places that are abusive. That doesn't mean we're going to accept a governance. We're going to respect, but not necessarily agree with the governance. We have the right not to agree. But we're not going to come against. We're going to forgive. We're going to understand. And then we're going to do what we need to do. He then says, talking about charity, the first thing he says is progress, which is surprising. Because when you talk about charity, we think of love, we think of easy feelings, and then surprisingly, he brings to us this idea of sustaining spiritual progress. If we want to sustain, he says, sustain, maintain, keep, we need charity as much as we need air. So that's why when people tell me, I'm going to retreat from life, from all relationships, so I restore myself, having a break for meditation is important. Having a day or two off or a few off is important. But retreating from serving, from caring, it's as if we're emitting to the world. Our magnet is saying to the world, I don't want to give. And the universe is going to reply, me either. And then we are empty. No wonder Emmanuel and all the good spirits told Chico Xavier all the time, and they do the same with Evaldo Franco and many others in the world. You're tired? Well, serve more. You want to rest? Make your time more useful. Think of others. You want help? Help others. We attract or we emit. Charity is about this emission of vitality. But don't worry, some people say, but Vanessa, I'm afraid of giving the passes. What if I give of my vitality and I get sick? Well, let me share with you that the vitality doesn't come from you. It comes from God. It's a flow, constant flow. As we said, the mentors were telling us on day one, we are umbilically connected with God. There is this umbilical connection. We're constantly receiving the flow of nourishments. Nothing will lack. Because it's not ours. It comes from God. So, we need charity as much as we need air. And that's how we're going to sustain our progress. So let us evaluate ourselves. How much of our 24 hours we're spending to give some form of good-willed actions towards others? But Vanessa, I do this for my work. Good for you, but in a way, it's kind of an obligation because we have the reward, the money at the end of the day. As Rihanna is saying, the only retreat we could do is to correct our feelings. That's true. That's beautifully said, Rihanna. And Renata Casadei saying, as much as we share more, we receive back. Exactly. So, nothing will lack. Keep that in mind, friends. Let's all keep this in mind. The vitality doesn't come from me. It comes through me. Nothing that I give is mine. It comes from God. There is a constant flow. I don't need to be afraid of giving and lacking. Some people don't give like children. What if I give this? I'm not going to keep any for myself. No. In the law of the universe, you give, you receive. And you give and receive because it flows through us. Beautiful thoughts, beautiful feelings. Everything beautiful, everything good comes from God. So he says, remember that interdependence is the law instituted by God for the stability of the whole universe. Do not forget the understanding that we owe to all creatures. Why do we need to understand one another because we are interdependent. Look at the book, Sex and Destiny. In one life, Álvaro, an 18-year-old, comes and starts a mess in two families. 150 years later, he is the very spirit assigned to untie the knots that he created in all of those minds. We have this illusion of separation. This illusion that I may badmouth somebody and have no consequence for myself. That I may be indifferent towards people's lives, which is the worst way of, especially when people are doing the good and we are indifferent. It's the worst way of approaching people, is to leave them alone, especially when they're doing the good. No wonder we have these increasing rates of suicide nowadays, because we have been caring very little for the feelings of people. We often say we're too busy, and we don't actually take with good care the feelings of people. We often see somebody suffering and we say, yeah, but you know, they brought it to themselves. But that's not nice. That's not understanding. Jesus never said that to us. Oh, you know why you are in trouble, right? Because you brought it on yourself. Thank God Jesus never said that. He never showed that he believed in that. He actually often told his disciples, do not judge without knowing the whole story at full length. Do we know the reasons why? Like, for example, somebody gets married, and then they get divorced. And we are like, oh, yeah, I know why. No, you don't know why. You don't know why they got married. You don't know why they got divorced. You don't know. So the question for us, since we're talking about understanding, is what do we do to understand? If somebody knows the answer, write it down. I will mail to you a t-shirt and a bag of our event, the First Spiritist Youth Weekend. Okay? That's the challenge. I'm not going to answer to this question now. So the question is, if Emmanuel is talking about the need of understanding, how can we practice this so-called understanding to be actually charitable through it? What is the answer? If you know it, write it down. I'll give you time and remind me if I forget to ask you at the end, because you may win a prize for it. This is just a challenge for our classroom moment, okay? So he continues, understanding that expresses itself through incessant tolerance and kindness, in the sound conviction that in helping others we'll be able to find the indispensable help of our own safety. Does this give you a clue of the answer we're looking for? Does it? What do you think? Understanding that expresses itself through incessant tolerance and kindness? This is huge. In our world, this is probably too much for many people. Really? Non-stop tolerance and kindness? No, but come on, there are some cases that no excuse, no, not at all. So think about it. He says, in the face of any complex problem in those around you, remember that it would not be fair to impose your points of view, to guide them on the road that is their own. So it's very interesting because people in our lives, they go through their issues. And often when we want to help them out, we say, the way I think is the way you should be thinking. And then we revisit and you say, you know, what do I know? That's not necessarily the way. There is a message by Emmanuel named Half Good. That message tells us about how often we think we're doing the good, but on the other hand, we're taking from the whole situation, and thus it's half good, half evil. He gives several examples. One of the examples he gives is when we give, but we want people to appreciate us. When we give of ourselves, and we want people to treat us in a VIP manner. It's really not logical, because we give just like the flower. A flower exhales the perfume and is not saying, did you like my perfume? Exhales the perfume and is not asking us to appreciate the perfume. The tree is there, standing tall, exhaling the beautiful oxygen that gives us life, and is not confiscating oxygen until we recognize her works. The worms in the soil are traveling in and out, creating holes to oxygenize the soil, and it becomes more fertile, and is not asking us for any recognition, any appreciation. The birds are flying. The bees are making honey, and they don't stop because we do not know what they are doing, do not recognize, or even take them for granted. So why do we humans want to do good things if and only if people recognize, people value us, and do not take us for granted? How many families suffer because people stop doing the good, being good to one another, because they are not appreciated? They're like, no, I'm not going to treat that person right. They don't treat me right, I won't treat them right. This is half good. If you want to do the good, do the good, do the good, do the good. Like a flower, perfume, beauty, perfume, beauty, color, beautifying the world, and not confiscating anything from us, from our eyes, just because we don't say thank you. But that's a good thing to do when you are under the shade of a beautiful tree. Thank you, tree, for giving me this. Thank you, flowers, for beautifying the world. Thank you for your perfume. Now that we know, we can give that gratitude to them. They are brothers and sisters in life as well. They are creatures of God. But they do not, and this is an inspiration for us, like the flowers. Let us do the good. Exhale the perfume of the good without asking for recognition. Is it hard? Yes, it is. But once we start it, one day it's going to become second nature. Rihanna is saying, it is their incarnation road to travel. We don't have to know why. We just need to respect and love. Exactly, Rihanna. So Emmanuel, talking about the charity of understanding, he goes straight to the Creator, saying, the Creator does not make copies. You're unique. I'm unique. We're all equal, but we are unique. Isn't that beautiful? And he says each heart, how poetic, obeys a particular system of evolutionary impulses. How poetic and scientific at the same time. I've never seen that before. Poetically scientific. Scientifically poetic. Emmanuel. Each heart obeys a particular system of evolutionary impulses. I don't know your road. You don't know my road. If we sit down one day and share our lives, like in the book The Messengers by André Luiz through Chico Xavier, when they meet in the spiritual realm and start exchanging impressions about previous lives' experiences, so rich, so profound, we look at one another and start understanding why we behave the way we behave. Our evolutionary impulses. What an expression. So this is one of the homeworks for us. Think about your unique evolutionary impulses that you can identify. So you can understand yourself better. By understanding it, you can change it. Right? Thank you, Raquel, for your loving care, for being here with us, beautiful mother. And may I say, Raquel, I know the Faith in Children has a beautiful 5K, a walk coming up on August 19th, right? So feel free, and I ask you kindly to share here the link so people in the area can join you and the Faith in Children projects, so more can come up for the children and their families. Raquel, please kindly share here the link, okay? Thank you. So, only love, that's our preferred part of the night. Only love. Only love is the climate suited to the interweaving of all beings of creation. These are not mere words. I feel moved because we are moved by God through love. Breathing in and out, I am love, your love, like the children who are singing so beautifully to the teenagers in the first Spiritist Youth Weekend. In a mediumistic meeting, the good spirits brought to us a simple song to be sung by the little children, to the teenagers, reminding them that they are accounted, that they're expected to fulfill their role so their generation of the little ones can do their task. And it's for all of us. You are love, you are light, you are love, you are light, you are God's, you are God's, loving one another is the way to go, is the way to go. Inside of us we have a child. Psychology knows it. And it's that child that we're singing. Your love, your light, your God's. Loving one another is the way to go. And that's what Emmanuel is revealing to us. Only love. A new car, a new house, a new anything, material, is not going to bring us. It's not going to bring us what we need, the harmony of life. Forget about it. The degree we're expecting, the position, the promotion, the love of our lives. Can I share with you who is the love of your life and you have been taken for granted maybe? God. God is the love of our lives. No, but Vanessa, I want a person. Now, I understand. But if you love God above all things, that person is just second nature in the process. right? So, loving one another is the only way to go. And that's exactly what Emmanuel says. Only love. Is the climate suited to the interweaving of all beings of creation? So next time, friend, you meet with your family, you have a gathering at a spiritist center, you have a gathering anywhere, turn on the button of your conscious love. What do I mean by it? Before you go to that encounter, take a shower, or go to the bathroom, or take a minute of inspiration before you leave your car to enter that location and say, we are all children of God. We're interdependent. I choose to give them love. I choose to be free of resistances to the loving flow of God. And then you may be asking, but Vanessa, what if I'm going to a business meeting or to a meeting where decisions need to be made, problems need to be solved, we need to discuss issues that are difficult, and we need to be serious and committed? And I say, of course, you're right. But you're doing this out of love. Correction is important. God corrects us. And if we are in the role of correcting, we need to correct with love. But correct with love is not something that we do by simply smiling, saying, he's saying, look, we need to change the scenario for the sake of everybody. And then we understand each other and say, well, I didn't think about this. Let's think together. Explain to us. Please elaborate your point of view. Let me see where you're coming from. And then we can talk. Many problems need to be solved. Like the teens doing the UN forum. I haven't seen anything like this in any adult meeting I've been to this far. I haven't. The level of maturity, the videos will soon be posted to our website. But I share with you the level of respect, of maturity, of understanding. And I think that's the reason why the teens succeeded. Their level of understanding was supreme, was so beneficial to all. Thank you, Rihanna. So it's very important for us to allow love to take us over. Only through love we will integrate ourselves into the sublime harmony of life. So push that button and say, I allow the loving flow of God to go through me without resistances. I want to understand people. Don't go to the meetings thinking how you're going to be, explaining the best of the explanations, presenting the best of presentations. That's the ego. Don't think about you, think about the whole. But people, Vanessa, I know, but the world needs to change. I don't change, if you don't change, how will the world change? We need to pay the price. The price of the change. It takes time, but it will happen. It will happen. It will happen. And he says, at every stage of the journey. So did you know that the journey has stages? That's beautiful. Usually, we think of a journey as a pathway that is flat, uneventful. And he says, not really. In an evolutionary journey, we're going to have bumps. And we need to dodge things that come our way. Just like video games. Have you ever played video games now with so many apps in a phone? I confess, because of Virginia, sometimes I play these silly video games. And I start playing just to relax my mind, like Shopkins Run. You can Google it and see how it is. It's so silly, but so cute at the same time. And if you see, like, this Shopkin, so cute, is running to jump obstacles, to achieve certain goals. And then these cute Shopkins are coming on the opposite direction. They're friends, but if they bump, you stop. You don't die. You just stop, have to restart. So that's our journey. People may come against us, not necessarily because they are enemies, but because they are in different directions. Actually, we are in different directions. We're going that way, they're coming this way, and then boom. So we have to dodge, come around, and learn how to be more flexible in the Zumba of life, right? So he's telling us at every stage of the journey that awareness is important. If I prepare my child to the fact that life has difficulties to be overcome, when they face them, they are not going to retreat. It's natural. People are different. People are different. Well, we're going to escape away. There is no place where there will be somebody just like us. So what do? Appreciate the differences, for God's sake. And say, wow, that's interesting. I want to learn from you. That's what something that sociologists called. He called it multicultural approach. When I observe the differences and I start appreciating and absorbing elements that may be interesting. So instead of just being ethnocentric in my belief, in my culture, race, I actually open my mind, and thus I live better. So he says, at every stage of the journey, maintain the charity that identifies the presence of the Lord in the paths of others, respecting the configuration with which they present themselves. People are different. So he says, maintain the charity that identifies the presence of the Lord in the paths of others. Often we curse people, saying, bad, they are evil, 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 evil. And my grandmother used to say, when you point with one finger, remember there are 3 other fingers pointing back to you, at you. I'll never forget that. And often when I do that, I'm like, uh-oh, what am I saying? I'm only identifying something that is in me. Right? It is in me. So I can rephrase it saying, no, that's where humility takes place, is saying, you know what? Let me think in a different direction. I prefer to believe that that action of that person, that word, was just a glimpse of ignorance. But God is guiding that person. God is investing in that person at each breath. So when you look at somebody not believing they're good, remember this. God is investing in them as much as in you at each breath. They are of God. That is how we maintain the charity of understanding. It's an exercise. It has to be conscious. Some people are bothered because they want to do the automated thing. But we need to first be aware, practice in order to become an automated action. Right, Raquel? Right, Rihanna? Exactly. So God is investing in all of us at each breath. None of us lack the presence of the Lord of life. How can I think that somebody has to be put aside? Create plots against somebody. How can we dare to do this? Hopefully, we're not the ones doing that. Where is our understanding? So finally he gets to this conclusion. As an educator, Emmanuel is now telling you and I, and all of us in the world, immortally, do not forget that no one is ignorant because they desire it. That's why Jesus said, Father, forgive them because they don't know what they are doing. People don't know. They don't know. How will they know? If they are given a chance, and it takes time. Thus, by extending fraternal arms to those who breathe troubled in the shadow, we will reduce penury in the world. And by serving without complaining, without demands, without resentments, we're going to be ascending. We're going to remain happy in the ascension through love and actions of goodwill towards all. So I'm going to ask that question once again. How do I practice understanding? Let's go to the book Thought and Life, chapter 10. Remember what Emmanuel said? Chapter 10 of the book Thought and Life. Practicing understanding. What do? The famous statement. What is it? Seek the good. Not only in you, in others, but also in you. Feel the good. Visualize the good. And mold the good with all the resources you have at hand. Seek the good. Right? Right, Rita de Cássia. So, we need to seek the good. The past has conditionings. It makes us look at ourselves in the mirror and not understand, not accept, not approve. We have portions of previous lives that to date are still not reconciled inside of us. We don't approve of them. We don't. But we need to. We need to. We need to look at them and say, you didn't know better. I love you. That part of us, of a previous life, that was a criminal, a prostitute, whatever it was, we embrace, reconcile with that part of ourselves. If we're able to do this, we're going to be able to do this with anybody in our lives. So tonight, whenever you go to sleep, ask your guardian angel, let us ask, that we may go to the spiritual clinics in the spiritual realm and do that exercise of reconciling with those personalities of our past that are still so heterogenic inside of us, creating so much conflict in our evolutionary impulses, as Emmanuel says. By reconciling within, we're going to be able to be more at peace and visualize this good, the new that we don't know. Be creative inside your imagination and think. Think of you waking up and people and you being fraternal, people being fraternal, kind and you being kind, you serving people without being tired, without complaints, going home, because that world is being built by us. There are worlds in this universe where it already exists. But it began in the mind. If I'm not able to visualize it, it will not manifest. Right, Patricia? Look for the good in everyone. But it begins in us. Mirror work, as Louise Hay proposed. We need to love ourselves to love others, said Jesus. That's the second part of the commandment. And because we're children of God and we love God, we want to be the good children that appreciate God. We tell ourselves, I love and approve of myself in ways that are pleasing to God. I love and approve of myself in ways that are pleasing to God. I love and approve of myself in ways that are pleasing to God. Shall we, friends? Thank you, Sol Souza, for your loving words. And friends, it's a joy to have you all here, to see so many good friends together and present, sharing your good words, your good feelings, and visualizing together. Close your eyes for a moment and let us visualize the world, understanding one another, appreciating one another, the inhabitants of the families, people being less violent, more loving, more embracing, obstructing less the flow of God's love. Breathe in and out, and let us thank Emmanuel, Chico, Xavier, Jesus for this message. Right? João Bosco, Carol Correa, so many good friends here together. Let us then, if you're going to sleep, as Raquel Murray is saying, sleep with the angels, right? And if you're still going your way, like Rihanna, Julija, and other friends, keep on doing the good and the good and the good wherever you are. And soon the world is going to be better, friends. A big hug to you. Tomorrow when we come back, just as a teaser, the title is Chapter 2, To Forgive. Oh my gosh. No way, Vanessa. Yes, way, super way. Come back so we can learn more about how to live lighter. A kiss and a hug. And until tomorrow, God willing, friends.